Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a new night, new time, same crazy show, same crazy host. This is Doc's Racing Digest. I am Doc, coming to you live from the wonderful world of my office, and again, we are trying to get the set a little bit better here. We did move it to Sunday evenings, as I think this will be a slightly better time to recap things, as well as, obviously, Doc, I'm a veterinarian by trade, and it's really is hard sometimes to get away to put together enough of a show on a Friday, when obviously I do have to, you know, take care of the animals first and all that. So Sunday, I have a little bit more free time, a little bit more stuff going on, so we'll toggle between the two, maybe, and some weeks it'll be Fridays, some weeks it'll be Sundays, but hopefully, you know, you're all getting everything out of it that you really want to. We're going to try to add things as we go along, as I'm still figuring all this out. Again, there's a reason I'm a veterinarian and not a technology person, as any of you who have followed some of my other videos and live broadcasts probably know. But that's all in the past. So this is Doc's Racing Digest, where we look at all different things in the world of thoroughbred horse racing, focusing, of course, on some of the major races that are out there, some of the more behind-the-scenes stories that we're going to try to bring you, and, of course, a lot of fan education, because that's really what this is all about. We want you guys, as fans, to really fall in love with this sport. And, of course, there's a gambling aspect to it, but there's a whole other aspect to horse racing that people really need to get out to the track and experience and enjoy, and we're going to try to bring some of that to you while covering a lot of the major stories in the sport. But, of course, right now, everybody is looking towards the first Saturday in May. We're just under, you know, 80 days or so from the Kentucky Derby, so a lot of the bigger prep races are starting to creep up on the road to the Kentucky Derby Trail, and unfortunately, again, because of my day job, I was not able to be on the air last week, so we're going to look first at hopefully recapping a little bit of what happened in the most recent Triple Crown prep races over the last week and a half or so, and we are going to look at that right now.
Stakes trio of February 3rd started out with the Withers and a matchup between highly regarded Avery Island and 2-year-old stakes winner Firenze Fire.
And down at the rail, Firenze Fire third, the half in 47 seconds flat. Bal Harbor is fourth, still 3 lengths off the lead. Marconi inching closer, 5 lengths covers the entire group. Into the far turn they go. Colton, Mississippi has been there every step of the way. Hounded now by Avery Island, who's traveling smoothly, and Avery Island is up to take the lead 3 furlongs out. Just behind them, Firenze Fire, guided off the rail, has 2 lengths to make up, but Avery Island is traveling beautifully, and Marconi launches a bit on the far outside. Bal Harbor drops out of it. Turning for home, Avery Island, Firenze Fire in pursuit now second. Marconi on the outside, finding his best stride. There's an 1/8 of a mile to go. Avery Island is called on to finish the job. He leads it by 2. Marconi and Firenze Fire both firing, but Avery Island maintains a comfortable margin with a 16th to go. Firenze Fire trying so hard in second. Avery Island is simply too good, and he wins the Withers by just over 2 lengths. Firenze Fire second, Marconi third, a long way clear of Colton, Mississippi.
Mischief, followed by Pony Up.
Headed on down to Gulfstream next for the Holy Bull Stakes. This was kind of featured as a matchup between, again, the highly regarded Enticed and Free Drop Billy. But as anyone who knows Gulfstream well will tell you, never count out Fletcher.
From fourth and outside, it's Free Drop Billy. Enticed is now back to fifth. Racing sixth is Tis Mischief. Pony Up is seventh. Bandito is eighth. And Tip Sheet is ninth and last as they race to the first finish line. 40 47 seconds for the opening half mile, and the leader is still Master Manipulator. He gets away now to lead by a length. Acor's all in, Audible on the outside. Free Drop Billy begins to move. Tiz Mischief tries to follow him. At the inside, Enticed will need a way through. Pony Up is wide on the course with Bandito, and Tip Sheet is still the trailer as they run around the far turn. Up to take the lead, it's Audible, in front by an egg. Free Drop Billy looms up alongside second, 2.5 back to Tiz Mischief, who rallies into third. Enticed is back to fourth, back to fifth is Master Manipulator. With less than a quarter of a mile to go, they run to the first finish line. Big time confrontation. Audible on the inside turns away the challenge of Free Drop Billy, and he now has 3 on the rest of the field. Inside the final furlong, no confrontation at all. Audible kicks away. It's Audible and jockey Javier Castellano to win the Holy Bull with style. They won it by 5. Free Drop Billy well clear for second, ahead of his barn buddy Tiz Mischief third. Fourth was Enticed.
The rider, it's a strung out field.
We headed out to the West Coast for the Robert B. Lewis Stakes. While admittedly probably lacking a true superstar horse in this one, it was a chance for some of the second-tier 3-year-olds to maybe make that step forward and consider themselves true Derby contenders.
By an even length, Dark Vader second, a neck to Shiver Me Timbers 3 wide, and a neck to a 4 wide Inscom. 4 lengths Ayakara making some mid-race headway to 5th on the inside. He's actually moved past Peace at this juncture. Blame the rider, Pepe Tonio. Regulate comprised the trailing trio. The field covered by a dozen lengths, and Lombo is giving them something to think about. It's his 2-turn debut, and he increases his lead to 3 lengths upon swinging for home. Dark Vader second under the whip. Shiver Me Timbers capitulating. Ayakara continues to pick up. He's on the inside, getting into third. Peace is a long way back fourth. Past the 8th pole comes Lombo beneath Flavion Pratt. He shows them a clean pair of heels. Lombo and the Lewis about 4 lengths in front of Ayakara, who is continuing to find the line encouragingly, but he won't catch Lombo. Lombo beats Ayakara, Dark Vader, Regulate, and Peace.
Following weekend saw the running of the Sam F. Davis down at Tampa Bay. This was the 3-year-old debut for Catholic Boy, the impressive winner of the Remsen. It was also a good test for Vina Rosso, among others. Here's what happened.
As they turn for home, Catholic Boy on the outside, he strikes to the lead. Flame Away is battling back gamely down along the inner rail. These two are locked in battle. Flame Away is coming back, trying to pull the upset. Catholic Boy is all out. These two matching strides. Vino Rosso defeated down to the wire. Flame Away, Catholic Boy on the outside. Flame Away and Jose Lascano, upset winner of the Sam Davis. And make
Well, there you go. That was a little bit of a recap of some of the races from about a week to 10 days ago. And, you know, all of them, definitely Audible, kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody expected kind of the blow-away race that he had. But then again, it is Gulfstream, it's Pletcher, it's the winter meeting. You cannot obviously count him out with any horse he has, and it'll be very interesting to see how this horse does as he kind of moves forward. You know, there's been talk, will he go in the Fountain of Youth, or will Pletcher look just to train him up to the Florida Derby? And Pletcher has been known to obviously space his horses' races out a little bit more. So we'll keep you updated as far as where Audible goes and a couple of the others. Enticed, obviously, didn't really fire that great, but it's very interesting also, again, when you look at trainer angles on certain things. McLaughlin really just doesn't seem to have a lot of luck down in Florida with his 3-year-olds sometimes, and whereas Pletcher just seems to dominate down there. So is Enticed really not that good, or is it just he doesn't do well down in South Florida? It'll be interesting to see as they all go forward. Avery Island looked very, very good. Firenze Fire is a very hard-knocking horse, but there is some question, you know, again, to the true talent group of those up in New York, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And obviously out in California, certainly could make a name for himself down the road. Very impressive performance for his first time around 2 turns. So all of those races, and then of course, with the Sam F. Davis, which is the prep race annually used for the Tampa Bay Derby, will be very interesting to see how Catholic Boy and Flame Away come out of this. You know, there's a lot of people that think you don't want these very, very easy prep races all the time. You want kind of a gut-wrenching prep race to really kind of build your horse up. Both of those horses probably got it, and you have to remember that was Catholic Boy's first race back since the Remsen in November, so probably is going to move forward off that race in leaps and bounds. Definitely looked good. Flame Away was, very interesting. not nominated to the Triple Crown when the original nominations were out for $600. Now Cassie said he is going to nominate him for obviously a much higher price. And of course now the rumor mill sort, did Cassie really not think the horse was that great? It was said that it was kind of an oversight that he wasn't nominated. So, you kind of be the judge. It's very interesting to follow, again, not just like the gambling aspect, but the prep aspect for a lot of these horses. And we'll talk a little bit at next week's show about the whole nomination to the Triple Crown process and what it is and what it entails. But horsemen sometimes have to take a little bit of a gamble themselves by putting up the money to nominate their 3-year-old to the Triple Crown Series. And if you don't, you can't run in it. So, and the further along time goes, the higher amount of money it is, obviously, to nominate to the Triple Crown races. So that's something that's really important to remember and to follow. One of the big races that we had just yesterday, as a matter of fact, was the Risen Star Stakes, and we are going to look at the field for that right now as I kind of clear this off for you guys. And so this was kind of the next coming out race for the now sort of highly regarded Instilled Regard, as well as a couple of, again, a stepping stone for some horses looking to see where they really fit on the Triple Crown trail and if they do or if they don't. And another one of those, again, Pletcher has got 3-year-olds all over the map this time of year, so Noble Indy is one that definitely needs to be looked at. And really, what would a Triple Crown season be without Wayne Lukas having a horse on the Triple Crown trail? So you've got Bravazzo there as well. So we're going to take a look right now at exactly what transpired in the Risen Star.
And they're off in the Risen Star Stakes. And here's Noble Indy, who's going out toward the lead with Snapper Sinclair. Instilled Regard settles, and Bravazzo comes up on the outside in the black cap as they enter the first turn, where Snapper Sinclair has taken the early lead from Noble Indy right there with the white cap toward the rail, and Bravazzo is also vying for the early pace with Instilled Regard. Fourth between horses, Principe Guilherme is running in the 3 to 4 path, and at the inside is a ground-saving High North. Then comes Eben. The trailers are Supreme Aura, and Give Me a Minute has dropped back to ninth. The quarter is 24.15 seconds at the 5.5. The leader is Snapper Sinclair, taken on by Bravazzo. They're neck apart. Snapper Sinclair just leads Bravazzo. Javier Castellano, and the Lecomte winner. Instilled Regard is racing outside of Noble Indy, and High North holds the rail as they head toward the half-mile pole. Principe Guilherme is on the far outside, 6 in the front under Florent Giroux. Then comes Eben, the trailers, as they go toward the far turn. Supreme Aura, and Give Me a Minute is last. A half mile in 47.96. They have 3 furlongs to go. Snapper Sinclair, Bravazzo still vying for it, and Instilled Regard is right there in a position to win as they come to the quarter pole. Principe Guilherme is next, followed toward the inside by High North. Noble Indy is too wide. Then comes Eben as they straighten past the quarter pole. Into the stretch, 3 quarters in 1 minute 12.85 seconds. Snapper Sinclair and a battling Bravazzo. These two take this tussle into the final fairgrounds furlong. Noble Indy looks to join up the rail. On the outside is Instilled Regard, who needs to pick up late. Then High North. They're close to home. Bravazzo enter the inside. Snapper Sinclair, a driving finish. Bravazzo and Miguel Mena and Snapper Sinclair. Photo finish in the Risen Star. Then Noble Indy was next across the line from Instilled Regard, High North, Eben. Principe Guilherme.
Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is an exciting stretch drive. And of course the fairground stretch very long, so you get these really long, exciting stretch drives. And who got the bob, it was really kind of hard to tell. But again, just like you really can't count out Pletcher when you're talking down in Florida, you can never count out the coach, D. Wayne Lukas, when it comes to Triple Crown races. And Bravazzo there just gutted it out. A really great performance by both of those horses. Kind of a disappointment in the races from horses like Instilled Regard. Noble Indy maybe move forward a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see where they go next and how they kind of come out of this race. Instilled Regard, he certainly has the breeding. Did he just find a tougher group of horses this time than in the Lecomte? It's kind of hard to say. So again, pay attention, see where all these horses go. They're going to try to find easier spots sometimes because of the need to get certain points to be able to get into the Derby. And speaking of the points, we are going to look at right now the point totals for the Derby, for the Triple Crown Trail, or the road to the Derby. And as you can see here, with that win, Bravazzo, the Risen Star was the first 50-point race. So obviously a big win there probably assures him a spot in the gate if he wants it. 54 points. Good Magic, who's going to be debuting very soon in his 3-year-old. Firenze Fire, that's just a hard-knocking horse. He's always there, so definitely want to be one that you want to watch. Snapper Sinclair, again, very game performance to jump him up with some points. McKenzie over at the Bob Baffert barn, and still up there. Bolt Doro, who's going to be debuting his 3-year-old, a little bit delayed debut as well, too. Free Drop Billy, Dale Romans, Soleimani, another of the Baffert horses, and Catholic Boy, who obviously ran a very, very good race in his first race back. So those are the top 10. Next week, we are probably going to hopefully look a little bit at exactly how this process is set up and why it went from there as compared to other places where it used to be based on earnings, and how the shift has kind of happened where now with this point system, are you getting more horses that really are true Derby horses as compared to maybe sprinters and dreamers, as we say, going into the Derby based on high-priced or high-pursed 2-year-old stakes races that were won when they were younger, and you know, the owners just want that Derby experience. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. But we've been talking about the boys so much. As soon as we take a look at first what the trivia question is for tonight, we're going to come back and talk about some of the girls out there as well.
Racing Trivia, where you can test your basic knowledge of this sport of thoroughbred racing. This evening's question: what is the term given to a horse that has yet to win a race? Think about it, and we'll be back later in the show with the answer.
Alright, so think about that as we look at a little bit of what we like to call girl power, and what actually another race that was on the Road to the Triple Crown series, or the Road to the Kentucky Derby as far as points, was the El Camino Real Derby run up at Golden Gate. And unfortunately, I do not have a video replay of that yet, as it just happened, but we did want to give a shout out to Paved, who's the photo you can see here, winning, becoming the first female horse to win that race. Traditionally a race run for the boys on the Road to the Derby, and Paved, certainly a wonderful performance there. Hopefully next week I'll have a video of that for you as well. But the other filly that we wanted to all talk about was a filly I talked about on the last show that won Champion 3-year-old sprinter, sprinting filly, and it was one that I think a lot of people, you know, had a couple of questions about as far as was she really deserving of that, and that is Unique Bella. Pennsylvania bred, who looked like a world beater at the beginning of the season last season, then suffered some injury issues that really kept her away from the races for quite a while. Did win a comeback race in the fall, but kind of flopped in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Still got Sprinter of the Year honors there, and obviously they're going to look as a 4-year-old now to potentially take a look at stretching her out into longer races. And one of those races that was her comeback race for 2014 was the Santa Margarita that just happened recently at Santa Anita Park. And, well, you be the judge if you think she is back.
Heat by 3 lengths. Mopatism is third and ridden along now in a gap of 3 lengths to Shenandoah Queen and Kathy Song, making very little impact from the rear. A Unique Bella has them spread-eagled coming to the quarter pole in the Santa Maria, and Smith sitting as quiet as a church mouse. Unique Bella by 4 lengths to Majestic Heat, a length and a half to Mopatism, and they're clear of Shenandoah Queen, coming past the 8th pole, and he doesn't need to even think about the whip on Unique Bella, who leads by 6 lengths. Majestic Heat and Mopatism are battling home fairly, but the only view they've had is of the grey filly's capacious posterior. Unique Bella, 1,200 pounds of horsepower, and she dominated the Santa Maria from the gate opening. Mopatism finished second in front of Majestic Heat, clear of Shenandoah.
I don't know about you, but I'd say she's probably progressed very nicely from a 3-year-old filly to a 4-year-old filly at this point, and it'll be very interesting to see what a healthy Unique Bella will do this year in the older filly division. We're going to talk a lot about the older horses in next week's show as we kind of gear up a little bit at the Dubai World Cup card as well. Take a look at what's happening there and some horses that are prepping right here in the U.S. to go over to Dubai at the end of March. And so that kind of takes us up to where we are right now. So we're going to take a quick look here at the upcoming race schedule for the Kentucky Derby. And you can see out in Tokyo, the Hyacinth. We're going to talk hopefully a little bit next week too about the international horses looking for the Derby this year. But we've got the Southwest coming up on Monday, and that will be Sporting Chance's debut, who was also trained by the coach, D. Wayne Lucas, and won the Hopeful last year before going to the sidelines for a little bit. And then, you know, looking at a couple of races at the beginning of March, again, both for the international or the foreign horses, and then you're coming back towards March 3rd, the Fountain of Youth Stakes, where, who knows, again, we might see Audible show up in that, we might see a couple of others show up in that as well, so that's really important. But we did also see a race called the Risen Star, and people may not really know what that race is named for, and how really Risen Star the horse was probably one of the more famous sons of a horse whose name invokes just sheer greatness when you think about it. And so we are going to take a look at that right now.
Hero the racing world had waited for. He had finally brought an end to the Triple Crown drought, and done so in a style in the Belmont Stakes that will never be seen again. But could he do the impossible at stud as well and, well, reproduce himself? Secretariat never did go on to sire another Triple Crown winner, but the closest he came was in one son who, like his famous dad, only raced as a 2- and 3-year-old, and perhaps with better racing luck in the Derby, might have been able to emulate that Triple Crown feat of his father. His name was Risen Star, and while he may have been bred in Kentucky, he became the darling of the Bayou as his connections were born and raised Louisianans. Owned by Ronnie Lamarque, yes, this Ronnie Lamarque.
You got it! Oh, when our saints go marching in, yes, when our saints go marching in, well, we all need to be in that number.
And trained by Louis Roussel III, Risen Star had his star do just that, rise in a meteoric way into the Triple Crown spring of 1988. Some would also say he had a little bit of help from above as well, as trainer Roussel is a devout Roman Catholic who touted his faith in helping him get over a scare with throat cancer when he was younger. The Connections then decided to pledge 10% of the colt's winnings to the Little Sisters of the Poor, an order of Roman Catholic nuns. Probably never helps to have God on your side in these races. He was also ridden by the cagey New Iberia, Louisiana native, Eddie De La Houssaye. Like he raced it too, Risen Star became more of a household name as a 3-year-old, winning the Louisiana Derby, and then going up against the highly regarded 49er in the Lexington Stakes, his last prep before the Derby. As you can see, he made a nice move on the turn, and wore down 49er in the stretch to win by just about a head.
Now 49er moves up. Here comes Risen Star in the center of the track. Down the stretch, it's 49er in front with Risen Star on the outside. They're in the final 16th of a mile. 49er and Risen Star right together. They go under the wire.
The hopes of Cajun country to Louisville next in the run for the Roses. Being forced wide on the backstretch and through the final turn, he just could not make up enough ground on the winner. A gray beast of a filly who everyone thought, and thought wrong, would not last on the lead like she did.
Winning colors, doing it just like D-Way Lucas said she would. Taking command and drawing off. Now she's in front by 3. Proper Reality a second. Here comes 49er, 2-year-old champ from last year, putting in a bid on the outside, and down the stretch they come. Winning colors in front. Here comes 49er on the outside. Lucas and Stevens. It's a driving finish. Winning colors by a head.
After much internal debate as to whether to pursue the next jewel, it was finally decided that Risen Star would head on to the land of the crab cakes for the Preakness. Not to be fooled this time, everyone kept closer to the big gray filly, and Eddie D gave a masterful ride up the rail to secure the second jewel of the Triple Crown.
Star right there in third, looking for racing room, and now finding it at the rail. Risen Star with a quick burst of speed up to take command. It's Risen Star on the inside, leading it by a head. Winning colors on the outside second. 49er between them third. 3 of them across the track as they move into the final quarter mile. Risen Star has the lead. Winning colors on the outside, tries to close the gap. 49er dropping back, and down the stretch they come. Risen Star with Eddie De La Houssaye shows the way by a length and a half. On the inside, it's the filly. On the outside, Brian's time is coming on. A 16th of a mile to go. Risen Star away from the rail. Brian's time with Cordero trying to close the gap. Winning colors third. Risen Star wins the Preakness by a length. Brian's time came from far back.
On Belmont, and the site of his daddy's most memorable moment. Again, he'd be facing the filly from the Lucas barn, and the always improving Brian's time, among others. He channeled every mesmerizing fiber of his father's image in the stretch at Old Sandy that afternoon, winning in a time that was the second fastest Belmont ever to be run to that point, eclipsed by only, yep, his proud papa.
Risen Star on the outside. The Preakness winner takes command from the Derby winner. Winning colors along the inside, drops back second by 2.5. King Post a close up third. That's the longest shot on the board, and he's within striking distance. 3.5 back, Brian's time. They move to the top of the stretch, and Risen Star has the lead by 3. The filly is dropping back as King Post makes his move on the outside. They're approaching the quarter pole, and Risen Star has the lead by 4. Eddie Delahousie aboard. King Post is in the runner-up spot at this point. Brian's time at the rail is racing third. Winning colors back to fourth. Then Cephas and Granacus. But past the 8th pole, Risen Star drawing away. He looks like his daddy at this point. Risen Star in front, and down the stretch they come. Risen Star drawing off. He's in front by 15, by 18. Risen Star takes the Belmont, just like his daddy Secretariat did. King Post finishes second. Brian's time third. Then it was Cephas, Granacus, and the filly Winning Colors finishes third.
Injury suffered in that Belmont Stakes forced his early retirement. That spring campaign of 1988 was still enough, though, to earn him Eclipse Award honors as champion 3-year-old, a feat that made him the first horse to become a third-generation winner of an Eclipse Award in the same category, with Secretariat taking the honors in 1973 and his daddy, Bold Ruler, taking it in 1957. As a sire, he was probably mediocre at best, most would say, but did sire Millionaire, Star Standard, and the German standout Risen Raven. Sadly, he passed away at the relatively young age of 13 at Walmark International Stud, where he is buried.
Move up between horses.
Spectacular spring that saw his star rise to the heavens. The Fairgrounds racetrack renamed the Louisiana Derby Trial Stakes, a race Risen Star had won on his way to his Louisiana Derby triumph, the Risen Star Stakes in his honor. Today, it serves as a pretty important stepping stone on the road to the Kentucky Derby for those that are looking for that next important step and to get those crucial Kentucky Derby points. One of the more well-known runners to win it in recent years is one who, well, won this minor little stakes race of note called the Pegasus in his last ever start.
My boy toward the inside, then Forever Mo, and Mo Tom is fourth. Tom's ready, well back. It's Gun Runner, here's Forever Mo. Gun Runner, another today for Florent Giroux. Gun Runner holds. Forever Mo and the Risen Star.
This education segment brought to you by Thoroughfan. Check out thoroughfan.com to learn everything about this amazing sport we call thoroughbred racing, and to become a member today. Thoroughfan, giving the fans a voice.
Well, there you go. Everything you wanted to know potentially about Risen Star, and it's really unfortunate that his career probably was cut, obviously was cut short by injury there. Who knows how good he would have been, progressing as his 3-year-old season went on, and potentially as a 4-year-old as well, and, probably the most accomplished son of Secretariat in regards to at least running in the Triple Crown races. Secretariat did have some pretty decent older horses that ran, but he really was known more as a broodmare sire, and really his greatness was carried on through the line of females that he sired over time, and passing on the genes through some of them. We do have breaking news here on Doc's Racing Digest, and this is some information that just came over that I was looking through, and I just saw, and actually we've got 2 very happy jockeys, I'm sure, today, and the first of which is Weston Hamilton up. He is an apprentice at Laurel Park, and he bagged 4 winners today, which is truly an amazing feat, especially for an apprentice. We talked a little bit in last show about apprentice and what apprentices mean and how they're called bug boys or bug girls and things like that, but super congratulations to Weston on the 4-win day, and that would probably be, top of the news as far as a jockey winning races on a single day, but of course, somebody had to outdo him, and it was none other than Dylan Davis in New York, who actually tied a NYRA record today by riding 6 winners on the card. He got a little help in the 5th race, win via DQ, but still won the entire early pick 5. He won races 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then did win also on a mount later in the card, which is just a phenomenal feat. Again, tying a NYRA record for races won in a day at 6. Basically, for those of you curious on the handicapping side, if you had just liked the name Dylan or happen to be a Dylan Davis fan, and actually he is a very, very talented young rider with horses, and he's probably going to be one that you're going to want to watch for a while here as he, you know, progresses through the NYRA circuit. But he definitely is one that you want to keep an eye on. And if you did happen to like the name Dylan or like him as a rider and just played 50 cents on every horse in the Pick 5, you would have gotten a nice little return of over $1,200. And add to that another nice couple of hundred from the Pick 4 as well. So sometimes it helps just to bet a jockey's name. I am not the greatest when it comes to those sorts of things. As I say, I couldn't pick the winner in a walkover, but it's still fun to try. Congratulations to Dylan. Congratulations to Weston as well, as we move on here with Doc's Racing Digest and looking at, you know, kind of a topic that's come up a multitude of times, but potentially more this season because of the harsh winter that we've had. Okay, everybody knows that racing goes on in the Northeast year-round. It used to not be that way. You know, decades back, you know, racing used to close down in the Northeast. You know, and horsemen, you know, would take their major outfits down to Florida to run. Back, you know, that's back when Hialeah was big. As well as some of the other tracks down there. And lately, racing all around the country has become like a year-round sport, and there's really no off-season or anything like that. And I came across this interesting article when I was perusing stuff online, and it came from drf.com, and, you know, winter no wonderland for the New York Racing Association, and they've been having some trouble both with the weather as well as just being able to fill races during the winter, because a lot of horsemen have been shipping out of state to run and moving their outfits down to places where the weather is obviously nicer and it's easier to train on a consistent basis. Here in Pennsylvania, where I am, the winter has wreaked havoc with racing here in Pennsylvania. There's been tons of days of cancellations. The track they've been having trouble maintaining the track. It probably has affected the horses with some injuries and things like that. And that really brings me to the discussion point that I know I am probably in the minority about, but again, I look at things from a fan's perspective and from a welfare perspective and things of that nature. And you know, I'm just going to come out and say it. There is no reason to be running races at any track in the Northeast in January and February. There just isn't. And I understand for the horsemen, this is a time when, you know, a lot of the smaller outfits can make their money because the bigger outfits go down south and things like that. And I do sympathize with them from that standpoint. But I do think there's ways, especially with this slots money constantly coming in, that we can work out some sort of agreement where racing is just halted for that time period. You know, you've got to give these horses a rest. You've got to give them a chance to rest and recharge. And everybody, gamblers, fans, all that, we hate these 4- and 5-horse races. We're tired of seeing them. Racing secretaries are practically begging some trainers to fill races, to get their horses to go so that they can fill these races. There's not enough horses out there that can run reliably over and over again without suffering build-up injuries and things of that nature. We probably are running unsound horses because of it, all in the sake of trying to get races to go. Give the horses a break. Give the fans a break a little bit. Give the handicappers a little bit of a break. Make it a true racing season again. There really is no racing season anymore. It's just year-round racing, and, you know, I work in the nonprofit sector, and we talk about something called donor fatigue, where if we constantly go at people, eventually they're going to stop giving because they're just going to get tired of the ask. I think there's a little bit of gambler fatigue out there right now with so many races, with these races constantly being run, and really everybody complains about short fields and not a lot of competition and races, and horsemen are saying, you know, they're not riding races that make my horses competitive. Well, if you give your horses a little bit of a break, I think, let them rest, let them recharge, you know, save some of that money that would have been in those purses to really make some nice purses coming up when the season starts again, maybe in mid-March. And you will get the big fields. You will get the fields that people want to handicap. You'll get competitive fields. You'll be able to fill races where hopefully most of the horses are competitive, and you'll just give everybody a chance just to take a breath, relax. You race these horses year-round. That's just not meant to happen for them. They need some downtime. Look at any professional sport and the athletes that are in it. None of these sports are year-round, and almost all of them complain about how the injuries that occur a lot of times are because there are too many matches, there are too many games. The closest thing you may find to a year-round circuit maybe is tennis, or maybe a little bit with golf, but even they have downtimes. It's just, and I understand that, a lot of these smaller tracks, they're running lower level horses, but that's really no excuse. There is no excuse for that. You need to shut down racing in the winter, in the Northeast, maybe down to about the Mason-Dixon line, maybe include Laurel in that. I don't know. It kind of depends on the weather, I think, but anywhere north of the Mason-Dixon line, give the horses a break. You can financially make it work. I know everybody says you can't, and it's going to lead to more problems and things like that, but you could figure out a way to make it work in the best interest of the horses, best interest of the fans, best interest of the industry, to allow these horses to then come back and run healthy, run fresh. I'm not saying you have to totally stop on them, just keep them in light training, but give them a chance to recoup and recover. It seems to work pretty decently up at Woodbine, at least from my observational capabilities anyway, that, they shut down for a period in the winter, and then when they come back with races that are designed to build horses back up to the major races that go through the rest of the year. Seems to work very well for them. I don't understand why it can't really seem to work for us either, but then again, I don't understand a lot of things that happen sometimes in the sport in the U.S. that really don't make any sense to me personally, and I'm sure to a lot of other people, and we'll discuss those more on future segments of Doc's Discussion Points. So I am kind of curious to know what you guys think about it, so feel free to either drop me a line at shelterdoc38@yahoo.com or throw some comments here on the YouTube broadcast, and let me know what you think. Do you think that racing really should be halted in the Northeast and in January and February? And I know any member of a horseman's group is going to say absolutely not, because that's how I make my living, but I'm curious of everybody's opinion on that, because really, as I said, there really isn't much of a need for racing in the Northeast. And that's my discussion points for this week.
Want a shot at winning $1 million? Who wouldn't? Here's your chance, the new Stay Lucky app from America's Best Racing. First, you've got to download it. It's available on Android and iPhone. Now that you've got it downloaded, just click on the app and set up your account. Once you're logged in, click on this quick tutorial on how to play. Now, you're just about ready to start picking some winners and building a streak. But before you do, a little help for you from some pros. Each week, the best races in the country are loaded onto Stay Lucky. All you got to do is click Make a Pick, and you've got a fresh menu of races to sort through. You can pick one horse for as many races as you like. The more you play, the faster your streak will grow. As you start stringing together winners, you'll start racking up prizes. Get to that 20-win mark, you're gonna win $1 million. And with the Stay Lucky app, you're always just a click away from everything that's on americasbestracing.net. So, what are you waiting for? Download it, start picking winners, and stay lucky.
Well, there you go. Again, I've got my app right out here, Stay Lucky. I was lucky there for a little bit last week. I actually had a streak all the way up to 2, which for me is actually saying something. You still actually have a chance to get in on some of the races. I'm looking at them right now, and we're going to show you right here. You can get in for your picks tomorrow for the Royal Delta Stakes, the Razorback Handicap down at Oaklawn, and the Southwest Stakes at Oaklawn. The Royal Delta actually should be a pretty interesting race, and you've got some pretty good 3-year-old fillies coming back to battle each other in that one. But as far as who is currently leading the pack in this, let's take a look at that leaderboard now. And as I pull it up here, wow, 8, 7 people there pulling up streaks. And again, when you deal with a game like this, remember, it's not necessarily playing every single race. It's being sure to go out there and play the races where you feel most comfortable about a potential win. But check it out. I've got it on my phone. It's free to download, free to play, a wonderful app, Stay Lucky. Get you a little bit involved in kind of the backtrack of how to pick horses and some of the backstories on some of these horses. Kind of takes you into America's Best Racing too, which has a lot of amazing content on it for the new and old fan alike. You always learn something when you check out these websites, so be sure to check out Stay Lucky. See if you can stay lucky through the season, and maybe you can catch up and get a couple of long shots in there. Some of these guys with streaks of 8 or 7 wins, all it takes is 1 loss to knock you back down to 0. Happened to me. So definitely check it out. Stay Lucky. Definitely wonderful things upcoming, hopefully, with that app, and more fun to come. So we are going to look at a couple of more things here towards the end of the show as we go on. And the final part of the show that I'm really going to talk a little bit about is something that involves a whole bunch of contests, really, that have come up, I've noticed, in the last week. A lot of stuff that really fans can get very interested in and follow a little bit. And one of those is, for anybody who's been a fan of the sport, knows how amazing the filly, the mare, eventually the mare, Beholder was. And Spendthrift Farm, who owned Beholder and now stands her as a broodmare, recently bred her to Uncle Mo, and here she is with her beautiful, handsome little Uncle Mo colt. And as I say, the queen bee and her prince, and you, as the racing fan, as anybody out there in the internet world, will actually have a chance to name this colt. And if you just Google Spendthrift or Beholder naming contest, Beholder colt naming contest, you can go right in there. Select your name that you want it to be. They give you all the instructions on what's involved in naming a horse and how many characters it has to be, things like that. And who knows, your selection may be the name of this young horse, and you never know, we may see him on the Derby Trail in a couple of years. So definitely check that one out, because it certainly looks like something very interesting. Another one that came across is the Dubai Fan Club, and this is the People's Choice Award. And this is an award that obviously you as fans have basically the say as to who wins. And this is what we want to get more of. We want to get more fans involved in this sport, and you know, kind of picking some of the winners. So you have 4 choices here. You have got the unbelievable comeback of Lady Eli, you know, suffering laminitis, which kills a majority of horses now. And not only did she survive that with just amazing work with that her team put into her, but she came back to the highest level of racing to come back to win Grade 1s. She looked like a world beater when she won her some of her races as a 3-year-old filly, and then just stepped on that one nail, led to the laminitis, and obviously kept her out of training for the remainder of her 3-year-old season, and you know, parts of her 4-year-old season as well, but just came back to the highest level of the sport. Kind of a shame the way she went out, because of the rough trip she got in the filly and mare turf, and just really couldn't show her true form and true self when it comes to those sorts of things. Another one that's in there, Arrogate, and his amazing Last of First performance. Again, won him Longines Performance of the Year recently, again, for his world-beating performance in the Dubai World Cup. Up on the upper left, Christoph Suleiman, breaking the 300 win barrier. Suleiman, for a time, sometimes was just really known as kind of a big race rider, you know, almost like a money rider, and you know, just would win the big races, but not a lot otherwise. And he proved them wrong by going out and winning 300 races, which is a pretty impressive feat for a European jockey. And then finally, down in the lower right, a man who's probably going to be synonymous with greatness when it comes to training for as long as we talk about horses in the turf. Aidan O'Brien, he surpassed a record that many thought would not be surpassable in the 25 greater Group 1 wins in a year that was accomplished by the late great trainer Bobby Frankel. He smashed that record and actually finished 2017 with 28 Group or Grade 1 wins. So you have your choice between those 4. The voting, I believe, is open until March 10th, so you definitely do want to get over. Just again, Google Dubai Fan Choice, and you'll see it pop up there. It's probably 2 or 3 choices down, and it'll let you go ahead and pick who you think should be the People's Choice Award for the Dubai Racing Club. Another one that we've got, which is another fun one to always follow, I am part of this as well, is Derby Dollars, which is brought to you by the Pollock Report, which is an outstanding media resource. Ray Pollock and his staff really are top-notch in the business, and they're always coming out with really great stories. I get a lot of my information from them. You know, just some really, really great reporting done there. And 123bet.com, which is another wonderful website. And basically, you can still get involved in this. You know, you can sign up now. The first race was the Risen Star. Anybody who had Bravazzo in that one certainly is ahead of the game when it comes to Derby Dollars. But you can play through the entire year. It doesn't cost anything to play, and you know, there's some prizes at the end of it. You can certainly get to know some other racing fans. So definitely check it out. Just, again, Google Derby Dollars, and it'll take you right to everything you need to sign up. Very easy to sign up. Very self-explanatory in what you have to do, and obviously there'll be more races to pick from as the time goes on. And the final one that, unfortunately, right now is closed, but is one that will be very interesting to follow, is one that's been put together by Teresa Gennaro, and she's a wonderful writer from New York, and she has a blog called Brooklyn Backstretch. It's a really great blog. I invite everybody to check it out, and her writings and her thoughts on racing. But she does have what's known as the Kentucky Derby Charity League, and this is the 10th year it's been going now, and it really is a wonderful concept. Again, it's free to enter, but what the twist is in this, which I think is really kind of cool, is that all of the money brought in and donated towards that, whoever wins the handicapping contest, and basically what you're doing is you pick certain horses. It's like a fantasy league of horses that you get to pick, and you know, you follow them and see how they do on the different roads to the Kentucky Derby. Those of you that might remember Road to the Roses, fantasy setup like that was prevalent 5-10 years ago and sort of fell out of favor. I haven't really seen it pop up again. But this is sort of that same thing, but instead of obviously prize money for the one who comes out first, really the top 3 finishers get to split that money among a racing charity of their choice. So it can be something to involve anything with racing, so jockeys, aftercare, backstretch workers, things along that nature. So I really do applaud Teresa for putting that together. It's a lot of fun. This is the first year I'm getting involved in it, you know, I'm happy to say that I am playing for Pennsylvania Animal Racehorse Rehoming Rehabilitation and Rescue. And actually, believe it or not, after that first race, I somehow am in the lead. And that is something that I'm showing here, not so much to brag, because it almost never happens, and it probably won't be that way come the races next week. So I can at least enjoy my quick out-of-the-gate start. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint, so no, I've got to see if I can, you know, ration that speed out a little bit, but certainly was nice to see Bravazzo pull that off, and so 5 points ahead, and hopefully we'll keep that going for par, because really that's, you know, what we're playing for here, and that's the most important thing when it comes to doing all of those things and making sure that we take care of all these horses. So what is par? And, you know, because you've heard me talk about it a little bit, well, here's a little bit of a teaser for you.
One of the racehorse rescues that is very near and dear to Doc and many people in the Mid-Atlantic region is Pennsylvania Racehorse Rehoming, Rehabilitation, and Rescue. Check out PAR today and see all the amazing things that they have done as they take all these horses from the racetrack to the ribbons and to wonderful second careers. Support PAR today.
Okay, I do apologize for that. That was actually normally the ending thing that I play. It was not the video that I wanted to show. We'll try to pull that up in a moment. But we are going now, obviously, coming to the end of the show. And I did want to give one final shout out to 2 major things. The first is happy birthday to California Chrome. And obviously all the chromies out there are going to be celebrating, I'm sure. And it's important to look for a horse who is his full brother, and his name is Faversham, and I'm going to pull him up right here. He finished second, a very game second, as a matter of fact, to... see, I knew I could almost make through the entire show without having a problem, and now, of course, it's going to happen. So I'm just pulling up his picture there. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right. So there he is, finishing second in his maiden debut race. He's actually going to run in the same race that California Chrome won on his trip to the Derby in the Cal Cup Derby. And it is restricted to Calbred, so it's not actually a race that's for points, but it will be interesting to see. He's trained by Art Sherman, owned by Perry Martin. Certainly has shown a ton of ability so far, so this will be his second start. He's obviously might be going against some winners, but Art Sherman seems very confident that he'll handle the 2 turns just fine. So best of luck to Faversham in the Cal Cup Derby, which is happening tomorrow. And then the other one that we were going to talk a little bit about is really something that just you don't see too much anymore. And this is not the actual race that he or she won in, but Dance Caller, who just is an amazing, it's a 12-year-old horse now who has won both of the races, his races starting this year. Just an amazing feat. Still sound, still loves what he's doing, so best of luck, and really we want to make sure that we really see him continue to go on and hopefully, you know, win the races that he's competitive in. And we definitely want to see more things, positive things. Nice to see an older horse do some stuff like that. So that was all really important as well. This is what I actually wanted to show you about PAR. there you go. Truly an amazing organization. They do take in some of the worst of the worst off the track sometimes, and have to spend thousands of dollars. And we hope to bring you some more stories about some of these horses that are taken care of in aftercare programs through PAR and some other organizations as we go through future episodes. So that is about going to do it for this episode of Doc's Racing Digest. Again, we are fine-tuning stuff. I do apologize if we do have some delays here or there or things like that, but hopefully you'll stick with us. We're going to get it better. We are going to have some interviews once I can get this Skype recording thing down, and hopefully we're going to have a lot of educational fun along the way. So thank you all for joining us. If you are joining live, if you are watching this on replay, be sure to drop in some comments. Again, positive and negative, constructive, I don't care. I'm a big boy. I can take it, and I really want to know what you guys as fans want and what we can do to make things better for the industry and for fans all over. So look forward to seeing you next Sunday evening, where we will recap some more of the races that happened on the road to the Triple Crown this year. We're going to look a little bit again to the Dubai World Cup. We hopefully will have an interview with Michael Amo of Thoroughfan, if I can get this Skype thing to work properly. And who knows? You never know what's going to show up in the week of Thoroughbred Racing, so we'll be talking about that stuff too. Who knows what my discussion topic will be for next week. So enjoy. Hope all of your photo finishes turn out on the right side of the bob, and always remember to gamble responsibly. Have a good evening, everybody.
Is a proud member of the organization Thoroughfan, the only nationally recognized fan organization for thoroughbred racing. Check out thoroughfan.com today and find out all the amazing things there are to learn about this great sport of thoroughbred horse racing, and also how to become a member and add your voice today. Thoroughfan, giving the fans a voice.